Alright folks, welcome back to Programming Pong. I've changed a few things since the last time you saw this program. Really actually the most important thing I changed was how much we update the position of the ball. So if we run this at 80 refresh rates a second and we're moving by 3 pixels a time, we can see that the ball shoots right off the screen pretty quickly. So it's going to make for a pretty engaging game once we have a paddle that we can move around. The problem is, though, that the ball now is somewhere, in Nebraska or wherever, depending on how I face my computer. So we really need the ball to be aware of the sides of the screen, and that's what we're going to do today. So how can we get the ball to be aware of the two sides of the screen in the X direction and just kind of bounce back and forth? Well, the way to do that is to get the ball to move backwards. Well, to get it to move backwards, we're going to need to subtract 3. So you can see here we're plus equalsing here. In other words, we're adding on, but we're adding on a negative number. Well, this will just have the ball. We can't just do this because the ball will just, shoot backwards. And that's no fun. Now it's in Illinois. Well, that doesn't do us any good. So we need to be able to basically tell the difference between this. And so what I'm going to do actually is create a separate variable for it. And we're going to have it be an integer just to keep things. Actually, I'll keep it a float so we can keep things smooth. And we're going to call it ball speed x. And right now we're going to set it to 3 because that's how the ball is moving. So this is how much distance to add to the ball each frame update. So each time the frame updates, we're going to add this much onto it. The reason that we're going to put this in a variable is so now that we have a variable, ball speed x, we can change that variable. We can make it bigger, we can make it smaller, we can slow the ball down, we can move it backwards. And then right here, I'm going to change this from a 3 to ball speed x. Okay, this is how programming works. We store information inside variables so that we can change them, but it makes it really easy to move things around. Now, before we add ball speed x on, we should change this comment right here. Now we need to decide which way the ball should move. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use an if statement. So this may be the first time that you've ever seen logic in programming, but computers are not that smart. But they're smart enough to make a few very, very simple decisions. We want to say, if it hits the wall, turn around. Then if it hits the other wall, turn back around. So every time that we run the draw function, we'd really like to be able to tell, well, am I moving towards the right wall, or am I moving towards the left wall? If I'm moving towards the right wall, my speed better be positive. If I'm moving backwards towards the left wall, it better be negative. And then they can flip-flop. So we're going to say if something, okay, so if the ball is moving this way, we're going to move it around. So let's say if the ball position, so ball x, ever gets to be greater than the width of the screen, and so we'll just say width. Width is a special variable that's programmed right into processing, and it matches up right here with this 600. So if it's ever bigger than the width, so if the ball's position is ever further along than here, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to move and change the speed to be negative. So a basic if statement is built like this. You have a set of parentheses with a condition inside, and you have a set of curly brackets where you have the do something if the condition is true. Okay, well, what do we want it to do? Well, we want to change ball speed x and make it equal to negative 3. So if it goes over the width, it's like it bounced off the screen and comes back. Okay, and then we're going to add a second if. Okay, if ball x, and now we're going to do the if for this side of the screen. If ball x, let's see, how can we tell if it's off the screen? Well, I guess ball x would be less than 0. So we can say less than 0. And we'll put in our curly brackets here, and we'll say ball speed x is going to equal 3. So what we've done here, we paint a background, then we check to see which way the ball should be moving. If it ever goes off the screen, then we change it to be the appropriate value. So right here we're getting bigger, but then boom, we bring it back. Right here, our x position is getting smaller, so we're going like this. And if the ball ever goes off the screen, then we're going to start adding 3 to the position. Now this line is really, really interesting because now it's using a variable that we've set conditionally so that the ball X changes its position based on what's happened up here. This is the value of programming. Finally, we say, okay, we want the ball to fill up red, and then we paint the ball where it should be. So we change ball X with the ball speed, and then we update it. And so we can see here that the ball now bounces off the sides of the screen. Isn't that thrilling? This is yet to be a game. In the next video, we will program the paddle so we can actually start bouncing the ball off the screen.